Hi, I made some DVR videos about some old DVRs I had dragged out again. Let's talk about my, shall we say, history with radios. Um, I started many years ago, and going back to the old galloping ghost reeds and bloody escarpments and rubber bands, and you know, I'm 67 years old, so I can go way back, to beginnings. Well, anyway, my main radio was a JR8 Propo. Fantastic radio. And it cost me an arm and a leg. I'd gone through the Futaba M series, and I decided that, I was young, free and single, had money in my pocket. I went out and mortgaged myself for a JR. And that was fantastic radio. Heavy, well built, sticks like bloody what, it was fantastic. It had pots and bloody, sliders and bloody, you name it, it had them. And it was really good. Took me through competitions and bloody pylon racing and all sorts. Then I left the UK in the early 90s, and the radios were left in the garden shed. My old Futaba M's and the JR Propo got left in the garden shed by the ex, and the water got into them, they got damaged. So there's me sitting in Latvia, and I'm thinking, I want to do RC again. So I looked around. I tried resurrecting the old JR. Took it to back in the UK. Took it to McGregor, Power Mining McGregor, Mike. He looked at it. He fixed it, but he said, no, I just don't trust it for long. He said, it's been water damaged. He said, there's no guarantee with it. It lasted about a year. I took it to another guy, and he said, no, just forget it. He said, I can get it working. He said, but there's water damage. So anyway, I used it for a while. I could still use it now, but it's just unreliable. It has glitches. So that's a word from the past, which a lot of people don't talk about now, but we used to have glitches. Right? Well, anyway, I looked around, and Latvia's not exactly the most well served in RC. So I looked around, and I saw the 9X radio, because 2.4 was now the story. And I wasn't going to buy Spectrum. I said, sod it, I didn't like this DX2 or whatever they had. I thought, 2 slots? Forget it, Even the Fly Sky's got 16 slots, So, and I couldn't justify paying, 5 or 6 times the amount of money for less channels and 2 slots instead of 16 slots and 8 channels. So anyway, I bought a 9X, and I liked it. It was fitted my hands because it's an old JR design anyway, and it was good. The springs and everything on the gimbals were nice and strong. Trims were raised, handle backwards. It had all the bits and pieces that I liked. So anyway, later on, I'd gone through Fly Sky. I went used Free Sky modules in the back, changed to ER9X, put Smarty Parts boards, AR9X boards, changed to Ersky TX. Brilliant, very good. But you always had this memory limitation, whatever you did. So I got 9XR. That one was 40. They sent me another one. That was 40. So they sent me another one, which worked. Funny enough, they sent me another one, and that worked. So I sent the other two. They told me, don't send the 2 back. You can keep them as spares one. So I gave them to a mate of mine who repaired them. So I ended up with 4. I gave him one of them for repairing them and kept the 3. So I ended up with 2 9Xs and 3 9XRs. And the 9XR is actually quite a good radio, except for 2 things. One, the bloody handle faces forward. And that's a stupid idea, because as soon as you put the radio down, you're putting the radio on its antenna. If the handle was beat backwards like every other bloody radio, then you wouldn't be resting the radio on its antenna. Secondly, the trims were all recessed so they're flush with the face of the bloody casing. So you couldn't find them when you were flying. You tried to feel for them, feel for the raised bump like you would on a normal radio or previous, like the 9X, the JRs and everything. You couldn't find the bloody trim. Luckily, InstaTrim saved the day on that. So using the trainer switch as an instant trim switch, managed to get round that. But radio guys, think about it. Handle backwards to stop anybody busting the bloody antennas. Trim buttons that you can find without having to look for them. So you can find them by feel. That means they must be proud of the case. All right? That's my lecture to you for a start. Now, the thing that I found with today's radios, lack of stick length and lack of tension. I like plenty of tension, and I like a long stick, tall stick. The high tension stops me wandering to the side or into the other control. Let's say I'm doing throttle. I don't want to wander into rudder. So I'm having to use high expo to get around this now. I want tension. And that means when I'm moving the stick, the tension resists me going into the other function. And I want tall sticks so that I get greater movement of my fingers for each degree of movement of the control. You understand what I mean? Short sticks means a little movement does a lot. A long tall stick means I can move that stick much more to get the same. So I get fineness of control. That allied with the high tension means I have fine control. Raised trims means I can find the trims. I still use Insta trim anyway, but anyway, it's nice to have raised trims. So I ended up with 3 9XRs, 2 9Xs, and that's good because if a radio fails, I can soon swap to another one or whatever, you know, so I've got redundancy. But I started to look at moving out because Free Sky was losing the plot. They were starting to get like the big boys. We're Free Sky, you know, no longer are we cloning, no longer are we supplying to everybody else. We're going to do our own thing. So suddenly the EU in its wisdom had started outlawing D8 and D16 and so on. So I found that Free Sky was moving out and it was getting more expensive, more proprietary. I said, sod it, you know. I loved the 9X, 9XR days with the Free Sky, with the XJT, DJT modules and so on. It was great. It was great. I could do what I wanted to do. But then Free Sky decided, you want to stay with us, boys? It's Tyrannus, Horus, and you know, it's our system now. Sorry, guys. You know. So anyway, I looked around, and of course, multi-protocol was coming out. So I bought a multi-protocol module and tried it in one of my radios, and I really liked it. This was what to do. I could program my WL Toys little helicopters and drones, and I could program anything. Spectrum, Free Sky, you know, the old D8, D16s, and you know, so on, Futaba, you know, I could put literally anything in. And that was it for me. I said, sod it. I am no longer stuck to a brand. No longer am I going to be blackmailed or forced into what they want me to do. I can do what I want to do. So I played around with the module a bit, and then I put the old modules back because the radios were fine on the old module. So there wasn't any point really to have the MPM in any of those radios. So I thought, okay, why not go to whole hog? And Jumper was around by then, and Jumper was the way to go, but I wasn't going to pay the money for Jumper because there were so many faults coming up on YouTube and reviews. Strip cables, there were so many things coming up about the Jumper that, like the charging circuit that burns out and so on. So many things that made it, don't want to spend $150, $200 or whatever it was, and then have a radio that, could I trust it? So I stayed away. And then Radio King came on the scene, and Radio King promised colour screen, touch screen, all that Jumper could do, plus sliders and all the rest. And so I was looking at the TX18S. I looked at the 18 Lite, but then I thought, I don't want to limit myself just to the Lite version. I want the S version, so I could literally do anything with it. So, and the price difference was minimal, I thought. So, and the Radio King was cheaper than Jumper. Load of reviews came out, Bardwell and all, Painless 360, and all these people were doing reviews of this Radio King, and everybody seemed to think that this was actually not a bad radio. That this took some of the areas that the Jumper had failed in and actually sorted them. So I thought, in for a penny, in for a pound. So I grabbed one. It came. Oh, it's on OTX. I've never been a lover of OTX. Never was. I was always an ER9X, Ersky TX. I thought, okay, I would put Ersky TX on this radio when it comes. Forget it. Don't try. It's an OTX radio. Mike in the UK has been very, very good to report ER9X to the MPM radio, to the Radio King. It's still a work in progress. I think maybe he slowed down on it because I was one of the few people that was asking him for it. And to be quite honest, I'm not the best of programmers as testers, so I tested what he did and it worked. But I don't know all the intricacies. I don't know the mixes and the logical switches and global function. I don't use any of those. I'm a dead basic person. Dual rates, expo, and that's about it. So I couldn't do the testing that he needed. So I think it slowed down and maybe it's stopped now. So I persevered with the OTX, and so I slowly got to grips with it. Couldn't understand why I needed to go through 3 commands to do a throttle cut, whereas Ersky TX was a single command. I couldn't understand any of it. Why OTX had to make something more complicated that was so bloody simple. But anyway, I persevered. Then one day the throttle broke. Stupid piece of plastic with the screw in it for tension. I took the radio apart. What a daft piece of gimbal. I had the Hall effect gimbal, so I had the good ones, but still with bloody plastic fixings and mountings. So I managed to repair it, got the tension back. Not enough tension. Why you guys making radios today don't allow us to have enough tension on our sticks, I have no idea what you're playing at. Is it so hard to give us good tension? So anyway, I repaired it. Then later on, I was setting up a couple of new models. I'm heavily into 3D printing. I'm 3D printing models all over the bloody place. So setting up the model, and I found elevator was interacting with throttle. I couldn't understand this. I'm a mode 2 flyer. So why was my left stick creating an interference with my right stick? If I moved the right stick, fine, nothing. It was perfect. But if I moved the throttle, the elevator moved 5%. So something was definitely not right. So I tried everything. I reinstalled OTX, reinstalled the bloody NPM firmware. I tried new models. I went back to old models that I had already in, and they were all showing this interaction between the throttle and the elevator, which I had not seen before. I'd flown with this radio and it had not had this before. So I thought, oh God, maybe the board's on its way out. Something's burnt on the board or something's wrong. I tried Edge. No, that was still the bloody same. So in the end, I took the radio apart and I decided to swap the gimbals over. So left gimbal to right plays, right gimbal to left plays. Okay, they don't go in because the gimbal pots, the Hall effect pots, are in the wrong place with the tension and so on. So they don't slot into the holes. The left stick is a left stick and the right stick's a right stick. You can't change them. But anyway, I plugged them in and just freehanded them, and everything was perfect. I thought, this is strange. So I put them back in their original places, plugged them in, and everything's perfect. So it wasn't the board, it wasn't the sticks, it was the bloody plugs. So the throttle plug must have been, not properly pushed in or something. Something was. So anyway, the radio's perfect now. And so I decided to change to Edge. Everybody was saying use Edge. I wasn't really interested in the touchscreen, but my roller, I call it a Spectrum roller, because like the Spectrum fault, it's not 100% reliable. And I've spoken to other people with jumpers and Radio Masters, and they say the same. They say, Nige, your Radio King roller is no bloody different to ours. It doesn't always work, especially when you press it for the accepting of a menu. It doesn't always work. So I thought, well, okay, the touch screen is going to sort this out. So I installed Edge. Now it's really nice touchscreen, nice movie style face, display. I put my own display on it, of course. It's turn it on, and you can see I'm.
Welcome to HTX.
So I got my own Union Jack and all sorts of for the starter. But you see, now I like this screen on it. You know the I like the screen, but I don't find it as intuitive, even as OTX. The last model I just put in, which was my RS21 glider with all air brakes and so on, I put a FlySky IA6 receiver in, and of course that has capability of failsafe, and I didn't set failsafe. Every time I switch the radio on, failsafe not set. Now with OTX, I would just go straight into model settings, scroll down, and there it is, failsafe. Not with Edge. With Edge, I have to go into the protocol choice and then scroll down. So it's it's a sub-menu of a sub-menu. Whereas with OTX, it's just a sub-menu. With ER9X or Ersky or whatever, it's a menu item, not even sub-menu. So OTX is a sub-menu of a menu. Edge is a sub-menu of a sub-menu of a menu. You're driving me nuts, guys. It was bad enough with OTX having mixes and inputs. So if you put it in one, it didn't work in the other. Or if you put it in the other, it didn't work bloody at all. It was in the wrong one. Why do you guys do this? Why do you split up what something works? ER9X, Ersky TX was simple. You went into a mix, you did the mix, that was it. Job done. OTX comes along and it splits it up. You say, the OTX guys say, oh yeah, well it's far more versatile, it gives you more combinations, it gives you more functions. Bullshit. Bullshit. That's an excuse for just splitting it up because you cannot do more than you could have done in Ersky TX. Edge TX, you've taken it even further. I hope that Edge TX are going to live up to its thing of saying it's going to do far more than anybody else because I don't like it. I'm living with it. I've left Edge TX on the radio because I know that Edge TX is the only one now that's really going to update so frequently and so much, and it gives me the touchscreen. But guys, think about the guy who's using it. We don't want to have to keep going into, bloody submenu of a submenu of a submenu. We just want to be able to do the job as simply and as quickly as possible. I don't want to have to do a bloody professorship in bloody programming. Anyway, the Radio King, sadly, as everybody knows, was only on the market for a short period and Jumper then dragged it kicking and screaming back under the jumper. And they basically came out with their later Jumper machines incorporating the charging and so on that they'd sorted out with the Radio King. So luckily my Radio King is served by the Jumper T18 firmware. It's a shame because it actually is a good radio. I don't understand why Radio Master is now seems to be going the way like Free Sky went. Radio Master seems to be getting more expensive. Tends to be trying to give the impression of a higher quality, of a higher grade. Is it really? The TX18, the TX16S Mark II, is it really that good that everybody should change to it? I'm wary of this sort of thing, I think Radio Master may be wise to learn from what happened with Free Sky. A lot of people still swear by Free Sky, but Free Sky I think has lost part of its market because it decided that Free Sky was Free Sky and they wanted to be like the big boys. JR was out of the way. Futaba is basically industrial, and movie makers stuff. Spectrum lost the plot, I think. They keep trying to convince people everybody uses Spectrum on the flight line. No, they bloody don't. It's a mix on the flight line now. I don't fly in America. Yeah, all right, guys, I don't fly in America. I don't see Spectrum on the flight line apart from maybe 1 or 2 sets a year. That's it, 1 or 2 sets, maybe. Over here, it's not as popular as you think it is. We're not in America. Over here, it's Tyrannus, 9X, 9XR Pros, it's maybe a couple of Horus here and there. In actual fact, I've seen more Futabas out there than Spectrum. So the Radio Master, I think if you're going to walk away from the market that you entered originally, I think you will make the same mistake as Free Sky. I would suggest that you rethink your modus operandi, because Radio Master was looked upon as the better of the NPM radio. But don't take it in there that you are the best, because at the end of the day, Jumper's there, EA Sheen's there, you know, there will be other NPMs come along, I'm sure there will. So be careful. Don't price yourself out of the market, because going for this max and so on, forget it. I'm not interested. So many people are not interested in carbon fiber and all this crap. They just want a bloody radio that works, yeah? And they want it at a price that's not going to hurt the pocket. We don't want to spend $700 or $800, which you're heading towards, So anyway, the Radio King's still working. I'm happy with it. Maybe 2-3 years from now it'll fall apart and I buy myself something else. I don't know, but what's going to be around then? Who knows? It might be thought control, just a bit like the old Eurofighter F-22, F-35 pilot. He's got his bloody head-up display, and he turns his head and the bloody airplane moves, Who knows what we're going to have. So, that's my purely personal. I know a lot of people are not going to agree with me. A lot of people are going to say, oh, what a bloody idiot. So what? It's life, I'm happy. I got over 70 models sitting in there ready to go. I'm happy enough. Got all my radios, got me drones and my bloody EDFs and so on. So I'm happy. Radio King's working well, and I wish everybody best of flying and good luck. Cheers. Bye bye.